Greetings, good people. What's happening? My name is Dr. Clarence, and welcome back to TV7 Live, where we get to give you all the artists and top trending topics broadcasting from Zimbabwe, Africa. So what has been happening throughout the day today? A whole lot of nothing. But how can nothing happen? That is something. Remember yesterday, we saw a United States of America ambassador coming here to Zimbabwe. It has been 3 years, Zimbabwe, without a U.S. ambassador to Zimbabwe. Then we saw her at the State House there. Now we see people in the ruling party already kicking and screaming after this.
And all of the political actors in Zimbabwe. Again, that's part of a diplomat's job, is to get to know as many people and get to understand as many different perspectives as possible. We had some real problems with the elections here. So did SADC, so did the EU. Unfortunately, we were not able to verify the elections ourselves because our election.
All right, here she say we had problems with the elections. Oh, apologies, guys. I'm still lost in the accent. Oh, yeah. Anyways, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Very beautiful. All right. So there, the U.S. ambassador to Zimbabwe. There, she's saying that the U.S. Of course, we understand the issue of the disputed election. Now I'm trying to switch back into this mode. And anyways, I get back into this mode right about now. Anyways, but we ourselves, we didn't verify that. But the SADC, Africa Union, they all disputed the Zimbabwe election. Now this is an opening up message.
With the elections here, so did SADC, so did the EU. Unfortunately, we were not able to verify the elections ourselves.
Unfortunately, we were not able to verify the elections ourselves.
Our election observers' activities were impeded, so we cannot testify.
Our activities were impeded, so we cannot testify. So here she's saying, the issue about rigged election, it's rigid. What do we do?
One way or the other. So we do have concerns about the way the elections were.
We do have concerns about the way the elections happen.
Run. But in the meantime, I look forward to working with all the political parties to get to understand their viewpoints and.
But in the meantime, I'm looking forward to be working with all the political parties to get their viewpoints. I look forward to be working with all the political parties. All right. So when we say parties, we don't mean the parties, but all the political parties. An individual can be a party. You can be a part of a tweet. As yourself, you are an entity. A party, you are playing part in something. That is what a party means. Political player, political party. Not necessarily what we call the traditional political party. So why is this U.S. ambassador bringing this issue of the Zimbabwe election? Why is she mentioning it? Probably she was following through a question. These guys are very eager to work with the Zimbabweans in Zimbabwe. So anyways, we're seeing these guys here in Zimbabwe. Yesterday, we saw
him and all of the political.
President Emerson Mnangagwa with the president of Mozambique for the Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Area TFCA Summit. But Hakainde Hichilema did not show up. Now, him not showing up, that could mean something. All right. Okay, now we're having the tea. Okay, I'm gonna meet the Hichilema. In the Hichilema, what does he do? Hichilema ditches, and then he sends a representative. The representative that Hakainde Hichilema sends to represent him is not the Minister of Foreign Affairs, no. Rather, is the Minister of Tourism, the Minister of Tourism. Yes, it would make sense in that the deal they were signing, or rather the memorandum they were signing, is something to do with a transnational park. Remember that place, that position where Mozambique, Zambia, and Zimbabwe intersect, where we find the Zambezi River with the water, the water that we will call the Victoria Falls, coming from the Zambian side. Anyway, that issue of the Victoria Falls is another highly debated debate. Is the Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe or in Zambia? So some say that the Victoria Falls is in Zambia, but the best view is in Zimbabwe. But what is the Victoria Falls? Is the Zambezi River the Victoria Falls? The Victoria Falls is the water falling. So the Victoria Falls is nowhere, but rather the Victoria Falls is a phenomenon, is a wonder. The Victoria Falls happens. So we saw ED with the president of Mozambique, and then we saw Nick Mangwana posting that. And what did he say? Let me just check out the captions. To those who are watching us live, enough respect to you. You can write your comments in the top chat or in the super chat. That's how I can see your name, so I can give you a shout out. And don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to TV7 Live if you have not yet already done so. I was supposed to have done this live broadcast on 7 p.m. but electricity in the city, it is a pity. The system, Zimbabwe Electricity Supply Authority, basically there is no supply there. The guys, they have no power. So here Nick Mangwana says Zambian President Hakainde Hichilema is being represented at Zimoza TFCA summit by his Minister of Tourism Rodney Sukumba, and the thing is hosted here in Zimbabwe. So we're seeing, let me just open that image there. ED in good spirits there. Who else is there? None other than Matema Danda. All right, why are we seeing Matema Danda in this thing to do with tourism? What is he doing there? There is something happening in the Zimbabwe political fraternity that we're going to be talking about at another time. But it has something to do with the power dynamics that are happening in the country. Now, 2017, who was behind the coup? And when the guys got into power, just before that, everybody was expecting a transition authority that would usher us into the election. So the guys, they enter power, then they make agreements, and there were parties involved. So people just assume it's ED and Chiwenga. There were other parties involved. Right now we have been seeing Kembo Mohadi ever since his I can't, which was a stunt to get attention 3 times. Okay, ever since that day we've been seeing him making public appearances making public appearances. We see ED again, public appearance. We see CG, DN, Chiwenga again, appearance. Yesterday, not the literal yesterday, but a few days ago, an army general goes, he becomes unalive, he is buried, but at the same time we're seeing the burial happening. Yes, the guy is declared a national hero, but we see VP Chiwenga somewhere in the Americas again making an appearance. We saw the First Lady Auxilia Mnangagwa in a country whose name I can't remember. Anyway, that country is very powerful. It's a very powerful nation. Then in Europe, it may be a country we may call a parallel to Russia, but anyways, Russia is Russia. So everybody is making those public appearances to make impressions, because power dynamics, there are elements to be considered. How do you appear? Does the international community accept you? One, internal political party. Are you able to influence people in the party? The so-called military, whatever it is, are you able to influence the military? Then there is the fourth force. What is the fourth force? And yes, there is a fourth force. So I'm going to be coming out with a video on the fourth force and what will happen next as it will happen. We are seeing the United States of America coming here. Obviously, everybody will be trying. Remember the Cholosho Declaration? Jonathan Moyo and E.D. Mnangagwa. Angar, my friends, my top shatter, or they were workmates. There's a difference between friends and workmates. So some people really do understand, okay, we are workmates. So I have to be very brilliant about this. I have to be who I'm supposed to be at a time. I'll be at a certain place. If at this place, I'm the commander-in-chief of the defense forces, I'm being the commander-in-chief of the defense forces. If I'm being a father to my family, I'm being a father to my family. If we are drinking whiskey here, remember, we drink whiskey because whiskey is for wisdom. We don't drink gins and spirits and all those other things. And whiskey got class. Okay, are they the only players? There are other factors that will be making also their campaigning, their maneuvers. The one who outshines. Now, we see Nelson Chamisa making a series of posts on social media. Is there a strategy? Does he have a strategy? He says the doctrine of strategic ambiguity confuses the opposing forces. Take note, the opposing forces. The citizens shall govern. We are the victorious forces. One people, one nation, and one vision. Hashtag for everyone. God is in it. Yesterday, it was young people take charge. Before that, it was Kenya. Take note. Just before that Kenya incident, we had seen William Ruto with ED at a function there in West Africa. Okay, everything good. Before that, William Ruto is where? In the United States of America. What was William Ruto doing in the United States of America? He was received like a king there. And anyways, of course, what has happened in Kenya has happened. But William Ruto is a bling king. Somebody who shines as in his speak, how he handles himself. Muna and that self-pride now is very disturbed. Coming from that time in the United States of America, now we are seeing ED writes a letter, then the following day we see an ambassador. Now, Nick Mangwana just makes a post. I wouldn't say from Norway. That is part of what he does. So, this thing that we call social media, either we overrate it or underrate it, or we don't comprehend it. Social media, there's something that is called information technology. You inform, right? How do you inform? The methods of information that touch people. Okay? So that guy is the Secretary for Information in the office of the president. Information has something to do with communication and nothing to do with computers. Rather, especially in Zimbabwe, whatever program you're doing, you have to be having a computer and Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel. It's basically used for typing. It's like a notebook or a diary. So that is confused, but it is actually a technology where they'll be specializing in that. Now this guy is posting media. So this guy is an information guy. He's not a propaganda guy. He's not a strategy guy. He makes this post. When he makes his post, he makes blunders. He writes, Matthew 7:15-16. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Then he posts this video. America, company sponsoring Generation Z protests in Kenya. Okay? Of course, ZANU-PF guys says American this, American that. But Zimbabweans who see this message, American company sponsoring Gen Z protests in Kenya. Ask I'm American myself out. I'm American and that made. No, what they're doing is they're sponsoring people who are protesting. They are helping people who are helping themselves. Right? So that post by Nick Mangwana is supposed to be brilliant. Again, the Americans are exposed again. So I'm mentioning it to destroy that one. To destroy Nick Mangwana. In fact, the permanent secretary there of information in the office of the president. That is a very dumb statement there. It means nothing. If America is sponsoring, that is advertising the Americans as in from today after me mentioning it. So these Americans, we are seeing that there are people who can sponsor people who want to stand for themselves. Anyways, what is this lady saying here?
President William Ruto has called out the Ford Foundation over its alleged involvement in the recent anti-government protests in different parts.
President William Ruto has called out the Ford Foundation
of the country. Ruto, who was speaking in Nakuru County, accused the American-owned entity of causing anarchy through violence,
causing anarchy through violence. My God.
The leadership to respect Kenya's democratic space or leave the country. Here's Kevin Mutai.
So, violent and protest, which is the more capital word there? Which word keeps subject of the matter? Which is the key word? Is it violence or protest. Violence, what does violence mean? Violation. Violence does not mean fighting somebody or beating somebody, but beating somebody is a violation of them. It doesn't mean vandalism, destroying property, even though vandalism is a violence, is a form of violence. Violence means a violation. So the government is violent to the citizen in their punitive, inconsiderate, ill-informed, ill-functioning, ill-efficient bills, tax bills. By just passing that bill into legislation, it's an act of violence, violating the citizens. And the citizens, what do? Naturally, it is nature happening. They react, they respond. They take it to the streets. Okay, Gen Z. What is it about this Kenyan Gen Z? Access to information, access to education. Information is multifaceted. Yes, you have access to information, but you also have access to enlightenment, exposure to a certain world. You have a different mindset. You have a different thought pattern. Kenyan youths are very active on Instagram. Very, very active on Instagram. When they're active on Instagram, what are they active about? How are they feeding themselves? Are they educating themselves, or they're satisfying their hedonistic needs? Are they a broken people who just need to seek solace in things that don't make sense, or in okay, I'm trying to avoid using a certain word, in delusions. Remember, when a people is broken, that's where you see the sketchy comedy. People enjoy sketchy comedy because they are seeking to escape reality. That's where we see my movies are fictional, and then X-Men. People like to watch certain movies that will make them escape from a reality. So in Kenya, they are informed youths. Change is not being brought by a regime change. It is being brought by a shift in the mindset of a population, such that we see youths taking it to the streets without anybody mobilizing them. So they take it to the streets, and William Ruto reacts and they responds, and we see deaths, etc, right? So we're seeing violence or containment. Can we say whatever it was? How do we deal with things like such? Of course, they've happened in history. So there's always a concern that something like that might happen. As of Zimbabwe, it's not going to happen anytime soon, right? It will happen one day. It's one day, the shift. What is that one day? A chicken lays on the eggs for 21 days. I don't know what the process is called. It's not hibernating. Incubation. It's not incubation anyways. That process, they call it incubation, right? But the eggs, they hatch in one day. Now, the informing of a people, the educating of a people, the shifting of the mindset of a people, it happens through a period of time. There are stages that happen. There are stages that happen. So now everybody's concerned about disputed elections, etc. It can happen, but as of now, who is informed on the reality of the society. Key takeaway here is, from today, the statement Americans are sponsoring
The details.
this and that should end. It's good advertising. It should be an understatement. Obviously, Americans, they do defend human rights anywhere in the world from their own point of view, from their own standpoint. But obviously, in the United States of America, we have people who are extremists, people who are the far left. Those people usually, hey. Even if they may be black, like this lady who's trying to become president, also Michelle Obama. Okay, we have the Obama Foundation, but we also have YALI, Young Africans something network from the United States of America. So a person being American doesn't mean they all sit back together in America and agree on the same thing. Okay, guys, we're going to be doing that, this. However, they also have their interests in business. Who doesn't have those interests there? So what are we doing in Zimbabwe right now? We're protecting our own. So we are told you don't protect anything if you have nothing. Okay. So we're seeing these guys, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Zambian presidents coming together for this transnational. They're doing what they're doing. I'm wondering what Matima Danda is doing behind there. Who's going to be benefiting from this? Are you even informed on how you're supposed to be benefiting? Right? So obviously, Nick Mangwana cannot go around and posting things, educating Zimbabweans, etc. Rather, what he can post is a 3 kilometer of a tarred road, and maybe at the 200 kilometer by now we would have forgotten that those guys taking the money from the toll gate, they did finance that thing. We are ill-informed. We forget that, those guys are Easy Park in Harare CBD. What are they doing there? South African company running Easy Park. Of course, South African company printed the ballot papers, special ballot papers. A ballot paper is a ballot paper. How much is a receipt book? Now a ballot paper costing up to $10. So the majority of our people are ill-informed to the extent that the discourse that makes sense is that Sewik Chivayo charts have been leaked, and we look into the substance of the charts. They are not as the headlines are suggesting. Anyways, before I sign out, a fun fact, the point where Zimbabwe, Botswana, Namibia, and Zambia meet is a quadri-point where 4 countries meet. This place is only found at this place in the whole world. There's no other place where 4 countries meet, 4 borders meet. The Zimbabwe, Botswana, Zambia meeting point there. Maybe it's just a fun fact, or there is more to that. With me saying that, it means just that. Enough respect to everybody who was watching us live. Gracias.